State of the Union address. My name is Josh, the president of Game Rage Magazine. I'm here today with my vice president of memery and fucktonery, Adam.
Fuck.
I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wait, before you start that,
okay.
I actually found out what, I never knew this, but apparently the way people used to talk back then, 1920s, 1930s, that's transatlantic. That's like transatlantic dialect or slang. Like that was the way that they spoke. I never knew it had a fucking name. I just assumed it was like 1930s or 1940s.
Yeah. Well, like we say on movies and TV in the 1920s, and that's a guy. Like,
yeah. So.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Anyways. Transatlantic. What to do?
How the fuck did that disappear, dude?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, how did it just
stop being a thing?
I don't fucking know. Anyways.
You know what? We should bring it back.
Transit.
Give him a real accent. They say we have a California accent. We'll give him a real fucking accent.
Transatlantic.
Oh, hey, buddy, you want to get on the 91 freeway?
Yeah.
Anyways, this is No Party Preference. I'm Josh. He's Adam.
My preference for parties is none.
It's zero. None. None of the above, please. We're going to talk about oligarchy today. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter oligarchy. Rich dudes. Fuck boys. I don't know, whatever you want to call them.
Definition.
We'll get to it in a second. But first, before we do that, if you want to listen to all other stuff, you can go to GameRageMagazine.com. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at GameRageMagazine, Twitter/X at GameRageMag, YouTube. She just tried to fucking...
Yeah,
the cat's fucking
bite his
horny.
nuts.
Yeah. YouTube, Game Rage Magazine. And if you want to follow Adam, you can follow him at All Gas No Trash Official, and go listen to the All Gas No Trash music podcast. It's fucking wonderful. You should go do yourself a favor.
So wonderful. We've only gotten 36 downloads for the month. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
We did do only one episode so far. So
for the month?
Yeah, because this is only week number 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, like it's not as bad as we're like think it is, but I mean it's pretty bad though. It's hot garbage, but it's not that bad.
Oh man, it's fucking it's rough times at Game Rage Magazine.
Yeah, rough fucking times.
September, you really kicked us in the balls. Anyways, what's the topic for the day?
Oligarchy. A conceptual form of power structure in which power rests with a small number of people. These people may or may not be distinguished by one or several characteristics, such as nobility, fame, wealth, education, corporate, religious, political, or military control. There are many examples throughout history of oligarchies that have existed, and there are also current structures of government that exist today that are considered an oligarchy. What I found to be interesting is that it's basically minority rule. And I think our oligarchy that we have in our system today here in the United States of America is based on monetary power. It's based on wealth. It's based on money. Because you do have a select few individuals, and what's fucking crazy too is the individuals that we quote unquote elect into our elected offices are all wealthy. They are all rich people. They all make more money than the rest of us. Base salary alone, as we looked at for a fucking congressman, was what,
175,000?
Something like that. 2024 U.S. Congress salary. $174,000 US dollars in 2024 is what they get paid minimally. That's their salary. I work 2 jobs. My wife works a job. We don't make anywhere fucking close to that. Yeah, sure. Between the 3 of us, because we have, or between the 2 of us and our 3 fucking jobs, yeah, we put together maybe 120, 130 on a good year, maybe. Here in California, though, if you make $150,000 a year, you are considered, that's the baseline to be considered a lower middle class. So I, working 3 jobs or having 3 jobs between our household, technically fall into the poverty class, which is below the middle class. So the people we put into office are making this as a salary, $174,000 from the government. They're also all invested in stocks. They're all invested in some kind of company that has who knows what the fuck, defense contractors, chip makers. They have the inside information, and they're all making a ton of fucking money. And that's not even to mention the kickbacks, the fucking, I mean, I don't want to say, I use this as an example because it's a good example, but it's not like just the pharmaceutical companies that do this. But when they want to have lobbyists that come around, oh, hey, Senator so-and-so, if you help introduce a bill that lets us charge more for insulin, hey, we'll send you on a bunch of vacations all the time. Or, oh, hey, there'll be a cush position for you on our board of directors when you get out of public service. Oh, again, that shit happens all the time. And then the people that even are no longer elected still have control over the power because of the lobbying industry, right? And the oligarchy of power is essentially controlled by, like I said, money. It's these corporations, these mega corporations that wield all this power against and with our government, who then combines their wealth of power to wield against who? Us, the people. To tell us what the fuck to do and what we can and can't do. And, hey, sorry. Oh, you're homeless? Oh, well, we're going to make it illegal to be homeless now. So now you're going to go fucking sit in a box. You're going to go sit in a box on adult timeout because you're homeless. Because, well, we just made it impossible for you to fucking afford to live. And
we're going to have the Olympics here, so we need to clean our streets up.
Oh, yeah. We're fucking 2028, baby. LA is getting the Olympics, and I guarantee you they will be fucking homeless free for the Olympics. And then as soon as they leave, it will go right back to Skid Row will be removed for the Olympics.
We'll see about that one, because
I believe they will. They will delete it. But also, if we look back in our own history in the 80s when we had that Black Monday stock market crash, what did we do? We instituted governmental policies to protect the fucking rich man's money. To say, hey, we can't lose 20% of our rich guy value in a day anymore. We need to set it up so the max we could lose is 5%. And then we can just turn it off and be like, we'll let it come back on when it, in a little bit here. They have those things set in place. 2008, the fucking economic housing crisis, or the credit default swaps thing. That whole fucking thing should have been illegal. To sell somebody like my payment, for those of you that don't know, a credit default swap, especially when it comes to mortgage default swaps, is when they take your payment. Say they have all 12 payments throughout the year that you're supposed to make, right? They have January, February, March, April, whatever. They sell them individually as packages. So they'll take 40 people's July payment and they'll sell it to somebody at an interest rate or less than what it should be, right? And then that person takes and sells it to someone else and someone else and someone else. So then essentially the only reason it unraveled was because they were getting loosey-goosey with the lending and they were giving creative financing to get people into houses that they couldn't fucking afford. And so when it came to be like the adjustable rate mortgage that you could get, the ARM mortgage, where, you're going to pay basically 1.5% interest for the first 3 years. And then after 3 years, it goes up to the real interest rate.
30%
which is well, it was like 12 or 13% or something like that.
Yeah.
So your house payment goes from being, $1,800 to $5,000. And you can't afford that. So all these companies were selling and selling and repackaging all the fucking monthly payments. And then when you don't make that monthly payment, because that's when it comes due, it has to go through all these assholes to get to the end guy to make everybody whole. But if you don't pay that payment, none of them get paid. And when you do it on a scale of hundreds of thousands of houses, everybody's left holding the bag. And everybody goes out of business. And so then that's when our government came up with the term, a bank is too big to fail. That is no longer free market capitalism. That's government interventionalist. I don't even think you can call it capitalism at that point, because you are just ensuring that this organization is going to exist. It's a private bank organization, and it's too big to fail. So we have to inject it with liquidity so that it can function and not fucking go away. But guess what? There were hundreds of banks during that time period. Local, regional banks, even some of the large national chains were not deemed too big to fail because they didn't have guys that were former secretary treasuries, that were guys that were former dudes who worked at, the Treasury Department that were now working at JP Morgan or whatever you want to call it. Those ones were not deemed too big to fail. Those ones failed. Those ones fucking disappeared. And what happened? Because the government said, hey, JP Morgan Chase or Bank of America or Citibank, you guys are too big to fail. So what we're doing is we're giving you all this money to keep you afloat during this. So in return, you're going to buy all these banks that are failing and you're going to fucking own them in return for us doing this to prop up the system a little bit. And so now all it did was it just consolidated banking power into 7 banks, basically, that were the ones deemed too big to fail. And now they owned a vast majority of all these small local regional banks and turned them all into their individual branches because now they own them. So that's what they did. And they did it with our taxpayer dollar. So the people who are in charge, they draw, at least in our government system, they draw treasury secretaries. They draw them from heads of finance, heads of the banking industry. They talk about these guys that are former heads and CEOs of JP Morgan, Bank of America, whatever, and they tap them to be everyone. I looked through from the fucking 80s on or whatever. Since the 80s, damn near every single CEO or every single treasury of the secretary, I think with the exception of 3 or 4 of them, were all former heads of some major financial institution, or they were some major player in the financial industry. And it's essentially the governmental equivalent of letting the wolves run the henhouse. And if you're just going to let them, when they take their risks, because as we've talked in the past, the stock market and the financial industry is just legalized. It's a legalized form of gambling, basically. That's what you're doing. You're just gambling. And you take risks, you take this, but you could lose, right? It's risk reward. So if you take a big risk and you win, cool. But if you take that big risk and you lose, now the government comes in and says, oh shit, now we're gonna cover your loss or help you out, right, to the big ones. And if you've got guys who are making those decisions and putting those packages together and recommending to the president, who's not one of these guys generally, saying, hey, I think we can't let these banks fail. We need to put $20 billion or $1 trillion or whatever the fuck the number was for the 2008 and 2009 deal. We need to put these packages together to keep these people afloat. And these guys worked at these places. So it's again, you're allowing the wolves to run the show, basically. And yeah, when you give a guy who was a Wall Street banker access to print fucking money at the Treasury and make him the Secretary of the Treasury, of course he's gonna fucking print money. Oh, my buddies are in trouble. I have and that's the other thing. A lot of these Treasury secretaries, after they get out, what do? They go and they're on boards of directors of JP Morgan Chase. They're on boards of fucking Bank of America, fucking HG fucking Wells or whatever the fuck whatever financial institution you can think of, right? I think H.G. Wells was the author. I fucking made that up. But fucking there's
Wells Fargo.
Yeah, Wells Fargo. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. There are many of them, many examples of this. And it's the pat on the back, it's the kickback for, hey, you helped us out when you were in the government, so now we're going to help you out and make sure you get paid money because you got us all this extra shit and kept us going, right? And I think we're eventually going to get to a point where we can't do that anymore, right? In terms of the financial aspect. Our U.S. debt is currently at, I think it's $36 trillion is what our federal debt is. I just want to go to the debt clock real quick because I think that's fucking the national debt clock website. Because yeah, our U.S. national debt is $35 trillion. And our federal budget deficit is $1 trillion fucking dollars. Wait, that's, yeah. 100,000, million, billion, trillion. Yeah, it's $1.8 trillion is the budget deficit, meaning our budget is $1.8 trillion in the hole to run the government right now, and it's currently increasing. Just like the national debt is increasing. So we are eventually going to get to a point where we just can't print money anymore. Where we can't just print ourselves out of it because we're just devaluing our currency as it is. And when we have these people in the positions of power, right, the quote unquote oligarchs or whatever, that's how shit goes awry. And that's kind of, I think, why we're in the position that we're in now. Other countries have had these issues throughout their time. After the fall of the Soviet Union, the Russian Federation was a prime example of oligarchs who a lot of them were criminal organization, mafias and things like that existed after or during the Soviet era. And then, well, if you don't have communism anymore, well, shit, we got to make money. So like, oh, let's fucking do something. Well, those people were the ones that made all this money and became the ones that essentially ran the country and got the people they wanted in power, had them doing what they wanted to do. Ukraine's another example of that. The Ukraine's the same kind of deal. And recently, in 2021, the Ukrainians passed some law that says like, oh, it limits the oligarch power that exists within Ukraine. It kind of limits what they can and can't do in terms of the country. And then a year later, they get invaded by the fucking Russians. So funny, but oligarchy plays a role in a multitude of different countries. China, like I said, China's another one that is considered to be an oligarchy because it's the wealthy few of the country who basically run the whole deal. And I think that in countries like ours, where we're given this choice, this illusion of choice of, well, I should say it's the illusion of freedom of choice for us to choose who legislates us or runs the country, right? When in fact, it doesn't matter who we choose. It could be when you only have A and B, they're each both bought off by all the same people. So it doesn't matter who you actually pick. The results are likely going to be the same either way. You're given this illusion of, oh, this thing or that thing gonna do this or they're gonna do that. It's not really up to them to do these things. It's up to the people who are paying them to do these things. So we've got this situation with this current election with Kamala Harris versus Trump. Both of them are bought and paid for. Both of them have wealthy fucking individuals that are financing their campaigns. And a wealthy person isn't going to part with their money for any sort of lackluster reason or any sort of bullshit reason. They're gonna part with the money because it's gonna get them something. That's how you stay rich. You don't just buy shit for no reason. You spend your money wisely. And that's what they do. They spend their money to fund the campaigns. And if their guy wins, they're gonna get some sort of benefit out of this. That's the whole point of even doing it. So I'm in favor of, for us here in America, eliminating that. Government run fucking campaigns. You get a certain set, everybody gets the same amount of money to go fund your campaign to do whatever. Paid for by the government. No outside fucking interference. No outside people. No, you are no longer going to be beholden. If you want to hold public office, you cannot accept any money from anyone. Not even citizens. Everybody gets the same amount of money. End of the story.
Or you just do it all online.
True.
That way nobody has to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And you can all stay at home in the comfort of your home.
And be free. And it's free.
And it's free.
And you use the blockchain to ensure whatever, like
voting.
No fuckery is afoot because it's open, it's in the public. That's where I think the real value of the blockchain technology is in governmental affairs, in voting, in running for office. I think the blockchain technology could really be used to change the way that we do these things and really make truly free, open, and fair elections. I doubt we'll ever see it because the people who would decide those things are in power and benefit from the system being the way it is. So why would they ever vote to change it?
Yeah.
Congress has never voted to demote themselves and give themselves less money. They've always agreed unanimously to vote to give themselves more money. So,
but I also risk, if everything is to be assumed about crypto and the benefits of it, if there are countries like El Salvador that are adopting it, yeah, they had a down period where they purchased. I actually don't know what the amount of Bitcoin they purchased was. And they actually translated their whole POI or point of sale POS to fucking Bitcoin POS systems. And that shit was kind of interesting. I kind of tangent, but they it was funny because you could purchase like lettuce and all these fucking things or whatever your typical grocery bag was. You purchase some fucking amount of groceries, you purchase it, and it's possible like there's a margin of which the Bitcoin started at a certain value when you went into the store. Yeah. And then it fell off.
Oh, shit.
So you end up paying more Bitcoin, but
damn.
That, I mean, it's just kind of like the volatility of Bitcoin itself.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, prior to all this shit with Japan and their stock market plummeting or whatever, I mean, El Salvador looked pretty fucking baller when they bought whatever amount of Bitcoin in the past.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, like everybody was calling them stupid, but there was a point where like it hit basically, I think $69,000 or $70,000 per each one. And it's like, well, they had that in their fucking reserves. So imagine how well that was going for them when it was going well. But anyways, what were we talking about for Bitcoin?
The blockchain. I was talking about how it could be used for voting and like governmental affairs. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about how I think that is more novel and revolutionary of a use of the blockchain technology than I think that's more, I guess, pliable or usable in governmental affairs than becoming an actual legitimate currency.
I think it'd be a legitimate currency, but I think the volatility comes from the fact that there's so much within the total supply that's still available, that once it fucking dissipates, like once it's gone, then the volatility would disappear. Right. But anyways, we're talking about like what you're saying about Bitcoin or
just the blockchain technology.
There would be. It would be in the U.S.'s best interest, the government itself, not to have that as a currency because it's like the U.S. dollar is the thing that we want everybody to use, and if we compromise that, then it's like, well, they're fucking over their buddies, so
they would never do it. It's never gonna happen.
But the same token, it's like, man, if we don't adopt that shit at some point, imagine if other countries like El Salvador and whoever else is taking it on.
Yeah, we're gonna.
What if we get leapfrogged technologically?
Oh yeah.
And we're the ones that fucking are left behind. And what if, I don't know if the U.S. dollar is going to move out of the way, but I think there is something about coexisting with Bitcoin and the U.S. dollar, like working in tandem, because you also don't want to fucking miss out on the opportunity for if that shit ends up just taking over globally.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. Anyways,
anyway.
So the oligarchy shit.
Oligarchy. Fucking, it's bad.
Wait, did you have more to add about that?
No, we're going for 25 minutes, so, we're good.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the end of it.
Okay.
I think oligarchy, we need to get rid of it.
We need to ban lobbyism.
We need to ban lobbying. We need to ban lobbying. We need to have truly free and open elections, open and fair elections. Mm-hmm. And that applies to campaign finance as well.
Yeah.
I think. So, otherwise, we're just going to end up like fucking Venezuela. Anyways. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for listening. You want to go, what?
This episode's sponsored by OPEC.
Yeah, OPEC.
Just kidding. It's not. It's not. That was a joke.
We're petrodollar shills. That's like
petrodollars.
Anyways, if you want to learn stuff, you go to GameRageMagazine.com. Please, OPEC assassins, do not come and fucking assassinate us because we mentioned your name. We said your name in vain. You go to GameRageMagazine.com, hear all our stuff. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at GameRageMagazine, Twitter/X at GameRageMag, YouTube, Game Rage fucking Magazine. Follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official. You can go listen to the All Gas No Trash podcast. It's quite wonderful and enjoyable, and you'll love it. Anyways, that's it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.